Say it.
Hey, Purple World, it's Clint.
And Masina.
And we've got a little bit of news before we get into the main part of this show. As you could tell probably by the intro of this video, that we're going by a different name. And we're going by the Purple Politicians. Purple Politicians. We decided to do that because there's been a lot of issues with the Purple Police. Not with us personally, not yet, but you know, in order to avoid all of that, we just decided to give us a more obscure, but not too obscure for, you know, the purple people, more obscure name, or, you know, that wouldn't cause any red flags or anything. And we don't want to play with fate. We don't want to give them a reason to come after us, even though everything about us is positive.
Yes.
We want to keep it positive. So we are now
don't get shut down.
Yeah, we don't want to get shut down. We just started. Why we want to get shut down? So we're gonna keep it Purple Politicians.
Yes.
So I hope
thank you to everybody that
voted.
Yes.
Yes, because we had all you people outside of New York, we had a poll as to what we should name it, and it gravitated towards Purple Politicians. Yes. So now we are the Purple Politicians. But now back to the featured presentation. Today we were lucky enough to be granted an interview with Maya Rudolph and Gretchen Lieberum, also known as Princess. So we're going to talk with them, and this is going to be what you see. Hi, Maya. Hi, Gretchen.
Hi.
How you guys doing?
We're good.
All right. Well, thanks for having this conversation with us.
Thank you. Welcome.
Now,
you're welcome.
You're welcome.
You're welcome, young man.
Oh, wow. I'm young. Oh, my. Well, okay. Well, let's get on with the history of Princess. Now, from my first exposure to you guys was on the Jimmy Fallon show when you did the backwards
Darling Nikki.
the backwards, you did Darling Nikki, but the thing that caught my attention was the backwards portion of Darling Nikki,
right?
Which that's Geeksville.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah, it's intense.
Now, was that actually the beginning of Princess, or, you know, did you have a longer history that we don't know about?
Well, Maya and I met in college, way back in the 90s.
Way back in the 90s.
And we were in a band together called Super Soft. And we always, you know, we were obsessed with Prince then, of course. And that was kind of like what we bonded over, one of the things. So we would always... We were singing our band together, but as friends, we were just constantly singing. I mean, it's kind of a problem. We're just always singing. We're always harmonizing. We're always like bursting into songs. We had the point that we would sing Prince songs together too. Mm-hmm. And years later, you know, we stayed friends. And when Maya, you can jump in anytime. When Maya was ending Saturday Night Live, we both had babies. Yeah, we had babies, and you were saying, what are you gonna do? Like when you get? Cause I'm from Los Angeles, and Gretchen had moved down here after college, and we were both living. But I was sort of living between New York and LA at the time because it's closer to my family here, having a baby. And Gretchen said, "What are you gonna do when you're done with the show?" And I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. Because all I'd ever really wanted to do was that show. And she said, she said very clearly, as though like a voice was speaking through her, why don't we start Prince? She's like, why don't we start a Prince cover band and call it Princess?
Wow.
And all I remember saying was, Morris, you're a genius. I think that is what I said. Yeah, probably. Sounds about right. We speak in
in Purple Rain lines from the movie.
We do.
A lot.
Yeah, we can relate.
We talking music. What are we talking? Lyrics.
Yeah, we talking
Lyrics.
lyrics. We always break out in the song. We do the same thing you guys do, I guess.
And it's
Yeah,
weird
sounds
because
like
you don't think about it until someone else is around you that's like, what did you say? Like,
Yeah.
anytime Gretchen says thank you, we both go doo 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 doo. You know, and we don't think about it, but our husbands think we're annoying. That's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, there's no question about that.
It's why I'm
You
single.
said to be careful lyrics. But yeah, we kind of didn't get it off the ground. I kept having babies, and we didn't really have our first official Princess show until my son was born, and he's almost 8. So that was about 8 years ago.
I know. I was thinking about that. It's 8 years.
Wow.
Yeah. So like right after I had him, I remember being like, all right, fuck it, let's do it. Like it's now or never. We keep saying we're going to do it. Let's actually do it. And
So, yeah, we opened for her old friends have a band called That Dog.
That Dog here at the Troubadour. Yeah, that was the first one. I think
Maya
it's because
reached out to them.
The way we did happen with Fallon was I was supposed to come out to New York. At the time, Fallon was still late night, and those guys are all friends of mine from Saturday Night Live. And so when you have to do the pre-interview for a talk show, they ask you what you want to talk about. And at that point, I knew Amir. I knew Amir.
Yeah, not that well though, but you were friendly with him.
I was friendly with him
only
because
done a couple shows.
Yeah, like I met Amir in the 30 Rock building because what was he doing? He was in 8H, which is the SNL studio, one day in the hallway talking, and he said, and this was, I think, this might have been pre YouTube, and he was saying that he had all these like he collects everything, and he had videotapes of my mom on different talk shows, which I didn't have.
Uh-huh.
And he was like, I can get them to you. You know, I was like, oh my God, thank you. I've always wanted to see like her on the Merv Griffin show or like her whatever talk show, and I didn't have access to all that stuff. And so he and I exchanged information then and had this like mutual admiration society conversation. And I'd see him every once in a while, and then obviously when the band started with Jimmy's show, I'd see them more and more in the building when I'd go to New York. And then I was living in LA at the time, and that's when I was supposed to do late night, and we just reached out and said, because I think at that point we'd already had our like Prince love conversation with Amir, and I said, can we play Darling Nikki on the show?
Ah.
So when we came out to New York, he was like, okay, I'll take care of it, and we just rehearsed with the Roots there in their room, which is like the size of a walk-in closet.
Yeah, it's tiny. It's teeny, and they're all squeezed in there.
It's crazy.
It's amazing. But yeah, we've only done a couple shows before then. We were open for her friend's band at the Troubadour. We just walked on stage, and people were like, what the hell is this? That was our very first show. We did 4 songs, and it just kind of, took off from there. It's like people were really into it, and they're like, what is this? But we'd only done a few shows before we played Jimmy Fallon for the first time. And then I don't know if it was your idea or Amir's idea, but you were saying, well, it would be great to have do a full show in New York too, and not just do the Jimmy Fallon show.
Oh, right.
So
we played the Brooklyn Bowl
singing
that
with the
weekend
Roots.
with them.
Right.
Yeah.
I was there.
Which was amazing.
We were.
All right.
I mean, it was really slapped together. I think we had literally like rehearsed the day we got into New York.
Wow.
And like run it with them once. Like it wasn't.
Really?
There was not much of a rehearsal. So it was really. I mean, you have to hand it to them. Like he's an amazing band leader. Like he just calls stuff out, and the band knows them. A lot of them knew the songs, but not everybody was as big of a Prince fan as like Amir and we were. So it just was kind of a combination of like people who can just play anything and people who know the songs well, and like we all just kind of did it. I saw some YouTube footage of it, and I was like, Jesus Christ, thank God that was a long time ago. I never want to revisit. Like I just didn't know everything then. Like we were just like winging it. It was like,
Well, I mean,
we've evolved since then, I would say.
Yeah.
I think our show has evolved too.
But that specific performance was like also the late night performance was a great bonding time with Amir, who became like a very big part of our own cultivated like Prince love family. So, you know, he's a genius in his own right, but he's also a fan. So he has this like very intense access to like information and knowledge, and then every once in a while to Prince himself, you know, like eventually after we did that performance. And this was during the time, by the way, that like Prince's lawyers kept taking stuff offline. So like anytime anything surfaced online, his lawyers were always taking it down. You know, that whole era.
Yeah, I remember that.
And
Web police.
so I can't remember, but we got a little bit of like a nod of approval, because I think they were like, well, they're not going to rerun the show, but they're not taking it offline. Like it was kind of like a you guys are okay sign. And it was a big deal, I remember. And then I don't know how many months later, it was when Prince came to the show with Third Eye Girl, and it was when he threw Kurt's guitar, let's be clear.
Yeah, he broke it.
Yeah, it wasn't pretty.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of this like angry conversation that, you know, like there were a lot of like painful, confused, hurt feelings. But at the same time, Amir was telling us that Prince told him directly, like he recorded the show, he recorded our performance and watched it a bunch on his bus or something, right? And what was the story, that he would like invite people in to show them? Is that right, Gretchen?
That's awesome.
But Prince ended up saying that himself when we met him.
No, I'm saying Prince. Well, first
Yeah.
Prince told Amir, so we were like, "What the
Yeah,
fuck?"
and then so
Sorry?
Amir
Like-
called me. Amir called me, and he's like, "Yo, I've got something to tell you. You're gonna be really excited." I was like, "What?" He's like, "Prince, guys, he used the word love." And I was like,
Wow.
"Are you kidding?" Oh my god! Because Maya and I feel like all we were hoping for is that he didn't hate it.
Get mad.
Or he would, we just didn't want him to be mad, and then we would be like, you know, maybe you stop doing it because, you know, we don't want to upset him. That's all we were hoping for, and to know that beyond that he was like, you know, got joy out of it and like enough to express it to Amir. I mean, that was just a dream. I mean, amazing.
But we had no idea, like, so from that point, and then many, like, I don't even know how much time passed. Then, like, when we would play shows, our whole fear was, like, we just don't want to cease and desist. Like, we need him to know how much we love him and love the music. We don't ever want him to, like, tell us he can't play it anymore. Because we knew that he didn't really want people doing his shit, you know? It was like he was just very particular about it. Like, I didn't want to be on his shit list. I was, you know, that's, like, that was my biggest, that was our biggest fear.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he took
Like,
his babies very seriously.
Yeah, and that was also like a very, like, if you look back, like, it felt like a very hyper paranoid time for anybody that was a Prince fan, because there was this like tale of lawyers, right, taking stuff down. So then Gretchen and I would play these shows, and she said to me, I never saw it, but I believe it. She said to me on a few occasions that there would be like a gentleman in the back of the room in like a suit taking notes. And then, like, for, like, a few of the songs, and then he'd be gone. But it was, like...
It makes me sound like I'm wearing a tinfoil hat right now. I swear he's the same.
So are you wearing a tinfoil hat?
Oh, I am, actually. I happen to be wearing one right now. But well, we were told by our friend who owns a venue here in L.A., where Wendy and Lisa would sometimes play. He's the one that told us that, he sends spies just to make sure people are being respectful.
Mm-hmm.
And he describes them to us, what the spies look like. Or maybe it's one guy, I have no idea. But I did spot this person at several shows in LA.
Huh.
I think. Maybe I'm nuts. I could be nuts.
I would believe it.
But
I would believe it.
But then years later, and I don't remember how many years later, I just know I was pregnant. I can only remember things based on pregnancies. So I was pregnant with my now 5-year-old, or almost 6-year-old, and we went to see him. Well, the last time I ever saw him play music we drove down.
Forum.
It was in,
Oh no, not the Forum.
No,
oh,
in
Orange
Anaheim.
County.
It was
Orange
a
County.
Third Eye Girl show.
Right. Yeah,
and we were like, I was supposed to fly to New York the next year or something, like super early, and I was so pregnant. We were like, fuck it, we're going.
Mm-hmm.
And we drove down to Anaheim, and once again through a mirror, it was like, okay, text this woman, she's his assistant, and she'll let you guys in. And so she did. She let us in. We walked in, and he was playing that cool, like, new version of Let's Go Crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And we were just like, oh, my God, I can't believe it. This is crazy. And then he had 2 shows, so we waited backstage afterwards. And all of a sudden, like, the 13-year-old me was just like, oh, we're waiting in a hallway with, like, 12 other people for Prince to come. And he just walked in, and he walked up to us, and he put his arms out, and he had a cute smile on his face, like, side grin, and he said, how y'all gonna do the backwards part?
Yeah.
That was my favorite. That was like my favorite moment.
Incredible. Referring to Darling Nikki,
Yeah.
the backwards part that we say.
I was gonna ask you how was that, rehearsing for that or trying to get that right?
Yeah, how many times
we
did you
never.
have to
I mean,
listen to
we
that?
never rehearsed. We never rehearsed for it.
Okay.
Really?
Because you've probably sung it so many times together.
Oh yeah.
Right.
So, but it's funny because Prince asked us the same thing. He's like, "Really? How did you learn it?" And I was like, "Well, we've been both
Singing.
listened to it since we were, 11 or 12, and we both listened to the album so many times that we both just learned it. And it's funny because I tend to sing the high harmonies and Maya sings the low harmonies, so she learned a lower part and I just learned a higher part.
Okay.
And when we became friends, we would just mess around and do it like nerds.
So you could,
Yeah, we never really thought about it.
Yeah.
No, we just knew it.
well, I mean,
Because we all sing it with you.
yeah, we kind of do. Yeah. Don't know if it's right or anything. We just make the noises that it sounds like. But for me, that was, like I said, that was a geek moment,
Yeah.
and that made me appreciate you. I was like, oh my God, these guys are really fans,
Yeah.
because they can do that, and they did do it. And I fell in love with you on Jimmy Fallon. I was like, oh my God. I mean, as a group, I fell in love with you anyway, but as a group, you guys were awesome, and I just had to see more of you, and I did.
Yeah, we just weren't very organized. It's hard to, I mean, we have other day jobs, and it's hard sometimes to get it all together. I think that's been the hardest part, is like, that part of it.
Well,
Like
Gretchen.
just like
Gretchen recorded an album. You have your movies and wine country now.
Yeah.
So yeah, I could imagine.
And we're mommies.
And your
Mommy.
mommies too. That's
Yeah.
right.
Oh,
See,
yeah.
so life gets in the way, but you guys are making the best of it.
Yeah, I mean, we sometimes when we do it, I'm like, why the fuck are we doing this? It's like we love it, and it makes us happy. And these are songs that we'd be singing in each other's cars, or like when we're hanging out anyway. I think the difference is like what it's become. Like, we were doing it just kind of when we could find good spots to make dates to perform, and then when he died, he died like how many days before we had that show in Austin?
Like three days or something.
Wow.
Yeah.
It was like nothing, and I didn't know if we should do the show. It felt really strange, and it made me question, because even in the beginning, I think because I've made my love for Prince clear, but because I'm rooted in comedy, people who don't know me well were like, oh, is this a joke? And I was like, no, bitch, this is not a joke. Like, there was like one time we were on stage and somebody said something about Prince being short, and I was just like, I forget that people like don't understand yet what we are.
Yeah.
I think it's taken some time to establish that, because the other thing is, like, we get asked to play festivals a lot, and it's usually these comedy music festivals. And so I don't know if people think that we're doing. I forget that there's an element of comedy in what we do, because that's how we are. Anyway, that's how we were in our band in college. We used to sing a cover of If a Girl Answers Don't Hang Up, and do the Brenda part. And it was just always funny. That's like, what's funny is funny, but it wasn't the music isn't funny to us. So, but we still like.
It's not a parody, which I think people that don't know us, they're not, especially with Maya doing all these characters on SNL and in her career, it's like they ask. That's the one thing that people ask that don't know what we do. They're like, "Is it a parody?" And I'm like, "Hell no."
No.
Right, and we're
not a parody.
We're funny together, like in life. Like we fuck around in life and make each other laugh all the time. So that element, like you guys saw us on the East Coast, but when we play home-based shows. There's a group of guys who I used to be in an improv group with, the Groundlings out here in LA, and there are dancers. And so we have these like male dancers who, by the way, don't dance. I don't even know why we call them dancers, but it's funny, and it's like it's the element of Prince that we also fell in love with, like the really funny element and him joking around and like that
his
that element.
And some of his lyrics are
very funny. Yeah,
they're funny. There's humor, in the and so while there is definitely humor in our show, 100%, our approach to the music is not a parody, and like it's important to us to make it sound as good as possible, and we're both real singers. We're singers, and and our musicians are great, and we want the music to be tight and good. So that part is not a parody.
There's an element to your show that I liked. I only saw you in October of 2017. That was my first time. But the element that I like,
Brooklyn.
Yeah, Brooklyn Bowl. I like that you keep along with the funny part of Prince is the party part, like the participation. And what Prince would do with his shows, like it wasn't just look at me, or it wasn't it's not about you, and it's not about Prince. When he did what he did, but it's a participation, and that was a huge part of my love for him when I was growing up, is that, wow, this guy really knows how to have fun, and he knows how to party, and it was fun. People used to think, oh, he's just nasty, and but
that's an element of nasty, but that's
right.
That's okay. Well, no, but they didn't understand the scope of it all. Like he gave life through that. Yeah. So that part of your performance was big to me. I was like, wow, they're keeping that alive.
And on top of that, you are very faithful to the music. So I mean, for anyone to consider it a spoof, they really don't know the music then.
No. Because
you guys are on point, and you add your spirit into it.
Yes.
So that's where the fun humor comes in. But
exactly, because the desire to perform this song was, to perform the stuff that we wanted to hear him play that he wasn't playing anymore.
Yeah.
And a lot of that stuff was the lyrical stuff that he wasn't singing anymore. And, I remember when he did those shows out here at the Forum, it was like however many nights, in a row. And
21,
he starts to play a little bit of like the riff, the line of Darling Nikki, and you're like, oh my God, if you play that song, I'm going to lose my mind. But then he didn't. It was just a tease,
The MSR.
And the other, like, there was another element too, like I don't even remember when it started, but growing up in LA, like I didn't even know, this is a larger conversation about Wendy and Lisa. Like I knew that they were local LA girls too, and like I didn't know until I was older that the stuff I was falling in love with, all the Prince stuff I was falling in love with listening to was their era specifically. And as I got older and I learned that, how much stuff they were responsible for, and that particular combination with Prince and that sound and what that was, and also just like seeing those women on stage with him and like daydreaming, like, God, I wish I were up there with them. It looks like so much fun, or I wish they were my friend, Later in life, like my fan part of me, like brought me to this like small club at Largo. I was pregnant once again, of course, but it was my first child.
Which one?
My oldest, and it was the old Largo. So it was this really tiny club, and it was like dinner theater. You had to sit at a table and eat your dinner while playing. And I knew to come down that night because my friend runs the club, and he said Wendy and Lisa were playing. That was like my everything. But I knew that Prince might play, and he sat in the back that night with Sheila. I don't know who else. I was so scared that he was there and so nervous that I wouldn't even look in his direction. But I knew he was in like the back left booth. Now I'm also losing my train of thought. I'm like, why am I telling this story? But I got here for a reason, and it was about Wendy and Lisa. But why? It was something about a connection to them, and then over the years, I think I know.
The songs that
it was around the time that he was doing those forum shows, and over the years, I'd like, with mutual friends, and I'd gotten to know Wendy a little bit. And I remember talking to her, and she was like, "Did you see him play that? Did you see him play that guitar?" She kept saying it like that. And I guess there was this rumor during those shows that there might be a Revolution reunion. I don't know if you guys had ever heard that, but like that was this thing where I was like, oh my God, it might happen. Like we might hear these songs again. We might actually get to hear these songs the way, because I like hearing them the way that they used to be. And I don't mind augmentation. Like that's one of my favorite things about Prince Live is like something was always different, and like there was no other performer that could do what he did, period. That was it. So like his capability on stage and like just this incredible energy that there was something about him where you were like, you knew that wherever he was going to take you, it was going to be amazing. And he was going to pull it off every single time. And like, it was just, people could take for granted that kind of level of like showmanship on stage, but all the versions were always amazing. And then I just didn't want that like important era of my life of Prince songs to like change into something totally new. So when things were starting to become a little bit more clean, and it was hard. It was like hard to hear that stuff the way it wasn't originally, but I supported it because it was Prince. It was like, okay, this is your choice. This is your music. I'm here with you. I support you. Whatever you want to do, I support you. Yeah. But I think at that time we were hoping that like the Revolution would come back together, and then it just didn't happen. Like,
well, I kind of agree. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I kind of agree with you on that aspect because, I kind of like his raw form better because as the years went by, once he left the Revolution, he just polished a little more, and then it was almost a little too perfect, And I kind of liked the way it was when, especially with Lisa and Wendy, like that whole creative period, like in the mid 80s. It's like they inspired him, and he inspired them, and they had this stew together that just
absolutely
works well. And when I met Lisa and Wendy, I even told them, I was like, you were really important to Prince's music. I said, I don't know if enough people tell you this. I don't even know if you realize it, but you were really important in his styling of music back then. And it's a shame that
people don't realize it. I don't know how many people know specifically. And then, the super fans know what Sign of the Times was meant to be and what it ended up becoming, but like their names aren't on there. You don't, the regular person listening to his music and hearing his stuff isn't seeing them on stage and isn't hear, you feel that influence and you hear it because it feels like a natural step from whatever the last album was. I can't think anymore. But it's not it's not known to a lot of people. So and by the way, knowing them now, I'm always hearing them talk about stuff. I'm like, I didn't know you wrote that. I didn't know you played on that song. I didn't know that was you singing.
Yeah.
I'll be like, I'm always surprised because there wasn't a lot of information. And I think it's really complicated. I think working for him, it breaks my heart to like learn some of the details of like things that, your heroes went through. And, there's no question that the Revolution was not given their credit, and their due, in that way. Specifically Wendy and Lisa, but I think the whole band.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting. We got to play with Bobby Z for the fundraiser that he does in Minneapolis for the American Heart Association.
The Purple Heart.
And it was, so we sang with him. I think it was him and it was Dr. Fink, and I think it was just those two, right, Maya?
Yeah.
From the original Revolution. But we got to meet, was that, hearing all these stories from all these people in that community, they're all friends, and they knew each other when they were really young. And Prince drew from this pool of people, and I don't think he necessarily picked the people that was, okay, this was the absolute tightest musician I know. It was really, he was piecing together a group, and I think my impression was had something to do with just like chemistry and like emotional connection and stuff. And they were like a family.
Yeah.
And like, or we would meet somebody and be like, oh yeah, I was, like, I was his driver for 5 years, but before that, I was his babysitter, I'm just like, it was like
Bobby's brother, cousin. Yeah, but don't forget, like, that's Minnesota too. That's Minnesota nice, and that's Minnesota, and it's a small town, and everybody knows each other, and that's a really fascinating element to his whole musical experience. Is this incredible pride, hometown pride, and this small town connection. Everybody kind of grew up together and knows each other and has known each other forever.
Well, you guys, you're basically part of the revolution, because you played with Bobby Z, you played
in
with
my mind,
Dr. Fink, you played with Lisa and Wendy. The only one you're missing is Brown Mark.
Yeah, we've gotten to play with them a few times.
Oh,
The revolution.
You see?
You're princess and the revolution.
Yeah, you're princess and the revolution. You should do. That should be a thing.
I'm down. But there's
that would be
again.
awesome.
We're always so incredibly respectful of like what this experience is for them, and and their history. And their history is very deep.
Yeah.
Wendy we played in LA last month, and Wendy came and played a few songs with us, which was so much fun and just so amazing. And she came out and did the first, few chords of Purple Rain. It was just her alone. But before that, she said to the audience, she was like, I was 18 years old when I joined this band. Can you imagine? Like, she was a teenager.
Yeah.
I think she was still in high school, or like just out of high school.
Probably just out, yeah.
I mean, incredible. She was so young when she was recorded that and was doing the film and everything.
Well,
cuckoo.
Speaking of you and Lisa and Wendy, the time that I caught you guys performing together was at Carnegie Hall.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So
did you notice I was pregnant then too?
Yep, saw it.
Yeah, I was pregnant.
Actually have a picture.
Yet again.
Now, how did you guys get involved with that?
That was through Amir, yeah.
Amir? Oh, he's hooking you
up.
up.
Yeah, and at the time I think that was also sort of like building, and that we didn't really know exactly what it was going to be, and like we knew Wendy a little bit, and then we got to play with her. That was amazing. I was Wendy's the fucking best. Wendy's like a cartoon of Wendy. Like we played we did Darling Nikki because we knew it was like performance wise that was like a strong one for us, and so we played with the Roots and Wendy. And then I remember we did the backwards part, and so beautiful in that room. It sounds amazing. And we sang that part, and we turned around and we looked at her. She all we want is for her to be like proud and happy. And she, by the way, the thing about her that you have to know is like she is a fan too. It's like it's weird, like to her songs, and she still has such an enormous amount of respect for the music and love for it, and like really understands people who are fans, in a very humble way, and not at all in this sort of grandiose, like, yeah, I get it. I get how you guys feel about it. Like, she's really open-hearted about it. And we turned her around after we sang, and she goes, you just got a motherfucking standing ovation at Carnegie Hall. Turn around and... But that was so special. Like, that was one of those times in life where, like, you really aren't... And you guys, I know you guys can relate to this, like, you really love something, and then you find your people that have a mutual love. And, like, that was a night where there were so many musicians who knew the music well, and, like, we got to know Susanna that night, and
D'Angelo.
And D'Angelo.
The first time we sang with D'Angelo.
Oh.
Yeah, and sing these songs with people who knew him well. And like, so many people were coming in and out of Amir's tiny little walk-in closet rehearsal space at the studio, and we would sing like backup, like we were helping him. We were basically like part of the studio band, like singing backup for like Elvis Costello.
Yeah, Elvis Costello.
And we got to sing Pop Life with D'Angelo and all these songs. Like, yeah, like it was all my fantasies come true. I was like, if that had all been all it was, great. I would have been happy.
Yeah, we were calling it Prince Camp. It was like a week of Prince Camp, which is so fun.
Except it wasn't even a week, just like in, I had 13 and a half jobs, so it was like 3 days, 2 or 3 days. Like, he has such limited time, and yet he manages to pull everything off. It's insane.
Oh yeah, Amir and Questlove, when it comes to music, man, they could just do it.
Yeah.
And that was actually a lot more fun than I expected it to be, the Carnegie Hall tribute, and the rumor that Prince was going to be there. Yeah. The second Chris Rock came out,
right. Yeah.
I knew it wasn't going to happen.
Well, that's a really important thing to bring up, because that's a very common experience when Prince was alive. Yeah. We had just played First Avenue, and we had that same experience. We were told he was circling the building. He was in a van circling the building. He was in the parking lot, but he never came in. Then we were told the same. Everyone was told that in Carnegie Hall. He's here. He's coming. He's here. He's coming. And he never came. Like, that was part of that whole mystique when he was alive. Mm-hmm. And I don't know when that started, how that started, why that started, but that was his thing.
He used to do it with the after shows and the after parties.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you never knew. Like, is he going to show up? Oh,
yeah.
He's sitting in the back. Will he go on stage?
Right.
Maybe.
I remember going to a Sly Stone show, and he was in New York, and he was going to be there. He was going to jump on stage and perform. But I think Sly Stone didn't like being told what to do, and he just kind of made it not happen.
Wow.
Because Prince told Sly, he's like, I don't want pictures taken, so like tell people not to take pictures. And
right.
Sly went on stage and he told everybody to take pictures. So Prince left.
Oh God. Oh God.
Even in the movie Wine Country, you reference a lot of to Prince, but one thing that you guys say is that he's your hero, and I just want you to just talk about that, because when we talk about that as fans to each other, and we understand, but other people, they look at us like, Prince, he was just Purple Rain, you know what I mean? But they don't understand the hero-dom of him and why that's so important to us.
I like, growing up being a Prince fan, a lot of people don't understand him fully. Like, if you didn't immerse yourself in his music and understand his whole, like, you can sniff out the people who you're like, oh, you saw Purple Rain, got it. Like, you don't get it. And I mean, that's kind of been the misunderstanding as a Prince fan for years. Like, you either get it or you don't. And the ones that do understand the magnitude of this man's, musical gift. So I kind of just got used to, like, not really paying attention to people who don't, are like, oh, he's horny and he's short. Like, all right, cool. We'll talk later. Great. You don't get it. Yeah. But it's, like I was saying before about, with you guys understanding, like, when you find your people who speak that language and understand the intricacy of the music that he created and him as a live performer and what he did, it's exciting, because it kind of, it just, it creates this place of being able to really appreciate there is and was nobody like him, even though he's, you can see his heroes that he's derived things from, but he created his own thing out of that.
Yeah.
I don't know if I answered the question, though, because I can't remember what the question was.
Why do you reference him as
such
hero?
For us, and for when you're a fan, there's such a magic
Yeah.
is the word that I always think of about him. And what's so sad about his passing is just, for me, I don't think of there's anyone else that I feel that way about. And there's musicians I love.
Yeah.
There's music I love, and there's artists I admire. But that just kind of amazing, magical feeling, excitement, love, like for me, I can't even think of anybody else.
No, that's
but one thing I'm proud of about our shows, I feel like they're a real celebration.
Yeah.
That's what we're trying to do, and I've had people, and there's super fans of Prince that know. We always throw in, nerdy references and different versions of songs and extended remixes and for the deep cuts and everything.
Yes.
But so there's those people, but we also have people that are kind of the casual fans. But I've had people come and tell me, like, I went and bought Dirty Mind after I saw your show. Like, I didn't know any of those songs.
Oh.
And I love that.
Yeah.
I love that so much. I think it's great. But, like, I think, it's so, there's, of course, there's such the deep sadness of him passing. But I think what we managed to do is make it like a joyful celebration of the love and excitement of that music.
Yeah.
And the excitement that we feel for that music.
Right.
Yeah, and it took on its own life form after he passed, because I've noticed our shows have really changed. Again, we weren't sure what we should do, why we were doing it, and the way that the way that the audiences have changed has been more unifying, because again, like, we've created a space for people like us to celebrate this music.
Right.
And it's a joint appreciation, and there's way more people in the audience now that know these deeper references and that have all the bootlegs and understand that we're playing, the 85 version of or the 83 version of Lady Cab Driver, or whatever it is, and that's and those are all the things, and we're playing all the stuff we like, all the stuff that, like, I still get joy, I still derive joy from. That's the cool part. But I will say the hardest thing about being a Prince fan, besides knowing that I'll never see him perform this stuff again, is I'm scared that I've heard everything, and that doesn't feel good. Because there was always this time where you're like, oh my God, there's something else, like, I may hear Wally, and then I heard it, and we're like, well, what's left?
Right.
Shit, what's left? Wendy's
gotta be stuff. There's gotta be.
There's still stuff.
Wendy always says there is, but what is it?
Well, that's up to the estate.
Well, I bet we're gonna hear it on the Instagram when these guys post it. First time we're gonna hear it.
We try to throw in something every now and then.
Listen, all I ask is, for my 50th birthday, you give me every bootleg that I do not have. Just a small favor.
Deal.
And when I say 50, I mean my 47th, because I'm going to be 47 next month. So
okay, next
beat
month.
it up a few years.
I'll give you everything I have.
Birthday month.
Huh?
I'm gonna turn 40 next month.
Look at that. So
Look
your
at that.
birthday's next month too. Ooh.
I'll be 40 next month.
When's your birthday?
Oh,
July
welcome.
8th. Welcome.
Welcome. Welcome.
Come on in.
My birthday is Thursday.
Ooh.
Hey, that's when you'll be in New York.
No, that's next Thursday.
No, is it this
It's
Thursday?
this Thursday.
No,
Oh, yeah,
we're
we
not.
forgot.
Next
It's
Thursday.
next Thursday.
What are you talking about?
See, you need a calendar.
Masina, when's your birthday? What day?
July 8th. I think it's on a Monday.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm the 27th.
Ooh.
You're a little Cancer.
Yes.
Yeah, you are.
I'm all the way in
My son is
August.
too.
I feel left out.
August.
I'm August.
Exciting.
Well, let me close out with this. We were watching Wine Country, and the hot tub scene that you're talking about, Prince, and how much of a hero he was, and that's a real conversation that we have.
Yeah.
All right, so
I mean, my girlfriend who wrote my friend Emily, who's in the hot tub with me, is one of the writers who wrote the movie and wrote that specifically because of my deep love for Prince.
Well,
we only improvised the Apollonia and the vanity part.
But I mean, it's that's how we know. See, this is why we chose to interview you, because you're one of us.
Yeah.
And you're not like some dinky tribute band that bounces around pretending to be Prince. You love the music, and we can tell it, and it shows.
Yeah.
So we appreciate what you do.
Absolutely.
Well, I'm so glad that comes across. That's great.
I have one request.
So guys, thanks for having us talk with us. We really, really, really appreciate it.
Oh, anytime.
Thank you.
I hope we can do it again.
Oh yeah. Well,
There's no end to these conversations for me, and I think we all feel mutually that it's keeping something alive for us that's really important to us. It's an identity, and it's a part of our lives.
So we'll see you next week.
next Thursday.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
See you in New
Thank
York.
you.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Thank you, guys.
Good night.
Thanks.
All right, you too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.